then he said, move on to milk. How much land must we have? How many cows must we own? How much grazing land must we have to give our people a glass of milk with every meal? How many sheep must we have? And how much grazing land must we have to give our people a lamb chop? I didn't say pork chop. Lamb chops. Ain't got to rob nobody. You gotta own the means of production. Then all your businesses will spring up. How much land must we have to give our people a requirement of spinach or broccoli or carrots, cauliflower, onions, garlic, string beans? All the things that help us to feed ourselves come from the land. How much land must we have? We've got to know just what it takes to feed an entire people. That means we are independent. We've taken our stomach away from our enemies. How much clay land must we have in order to make bricks, to start building houses? How much forest land must we have to cut down the trees and make wood to build homes? We have to have land, and there is no compromising this.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The truth must be recognized by the black man. But the word economics comes from the Greek eikonomikos, but it has come to be defined as the science of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, or the material welfare of humanity. Now, a blueprint is something defined that acts as a plan, a model, or something providing guidance. An economic blueprint is exactly what we need.
1, 2, 3.
Doctor, you in the house? Lawyer, you in the house? Teacher, you in the house? Preacher, you in the house? Tell me something. If you don't eat well, how long will you practice law? If you don't eat well, you become the patient, doctor. So don't look down on a farmer, look up to a farmer, because today it will be us farming our own land, producing our own food that will save our lives. It hurts me to travel and see us so dependent on others for the basic necessities of life, when the richness of our land is there to produce all that we need and then some.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The truth must be recognized by the black man. We are an international people. Our brothers and sisters are all over the world desirous of doing business with us. But if we are not producing anything, we can't enter into trade and commerce with the nations of the earth. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in Message to a Black Man, quote, as a people, we must become producers and not remain consumers and employees. We must be able to extract raw materials from the earth and manufacture them into something useful for ourselves. This would create jobs in production. We must remember that without land, there is no production. And the surplus of what we produce, we would sell. This would help develop a field of commerce and trade as other free and independent people whose population is less than that of ours, so-called Negroes. The truth must be recognized by the black man.
We're talking about revolution because that's the era that you're caught in. You're caught in a revolutionary era.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad outlined some basic principles. Number one, recognize the necessity for unity and group operation. Do you understand that if we can work together as a group in unity, we will be more successful, more powerful, more able to do the things that as individuals working by ourselves, we have never been able to do. Pool your resources physically as well as financially. Stop wanton criticism of everything that is black owned and operated. Keep in mind that jealousy destroys from within. Observe the operations of the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works hard in a collective manner. You do the same. Now, these are things that we must do. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us to commit to save 5 cents a day. He said if we can save just 5 cents a day from our wages, 25 cents a week for 52 weeks in the year, that would mean we would put aside $13 a year that we could save in a national savings treasury. At that time that he wrote this, we numbered 22 million people and approximately 5 million were wage earners. Well, if 5 million wage earners save $13 a year, this would mean 65 million saved out of our wages in 1 year at the rate of 25 cents per week. It would be painless. Today, brothers and sisters, don't you think we can do better than what we were asked to do 48 years ago? According to government statistics, there are a little over 16 million blacks employed at some level. Well, look what happens if we raise the economic bar and contribute the same nickel a day. The truth must be recognized by the black man.
Defending black women and black children and black babies.
Must be recognized by the black man. The Honorable
Greetings, listeners. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad, and I'm going to be in studio with you up to 9 o'clock this morning. And at a bit later on, I cannot say exactly when, but it depends on where and how the spirit moves. But I will, inshallah, be opening up the telephone lines and taking your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. You can send WhatsApp messages to the Black Agenda on 332-0214. And you can go to the social media pages of the Street 919 and follow the program in studio. So, my beloved people, the struggle continues in Trinidad and Tobago. And on the world stage, you know, sometimes when Trinidad makes the news internationally, you start to shiver sometimes. As we saw, I'm not even going to talk about that. But our struggle continues. And that's the nature of what struggle is. It is continuous. If you're involved in a struggle, you don't fight today, win tomorrow, and then rest for the remainder of your life. It simply does not work like that. A wise man once said, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. What does that mean? It means that if I fight for my freedom today and win it tomorrow, but I become negligent the day after, I might find myself having to fight for freedom once more by next week. Because if you're not consistently watchful, mindful, aware of not only the fight that you were involved in, but the kind of security that is required to maintain your newfound status of freedom, justice, and equality, if you're not mindful and appreciative of what the struggle was, then you'd lose it. Now, see this society here? This society is a society where a lot of people are involved in a struggle. A lot of people are involved in a fight. A lot of people are engaged in some kind of conflict. But in this society, all of that struggle, all of that conflict, all of that confrontation, it is not for the country. It's for individual, personal, selfish, classist interests. So everyone's fighting, but they're fighting against each other when they should be working together. So it's like you have gang warfare on the street level, brothers killing brothers, and then you have a similar kind of conflict on the higher level, playing the economy like it is a chess game while people are going to hell in this country. Anyone who knows me already knows how disgusted I am with our political system. You already know that. I don't have to tell you that. But it's almost like every single week something else takes place that is even more disgusting. So, I cannot think of exactly or put a number on over the last couple of weeks how many reports I've heard and people who have come to us directly claiming that they were unable to send their children to school. Oh, no. No, there's no excuse not to send your children to school, really. And especially if you have an intergenerational mission to climb out of poverty, make no excuses to not send your children to school. Oh, we didn't have no food. They give meals at the school. And I say a thumbs down to all the school principals. Yeah, I'm a teacher. I stand in solidarity, yeah, all of that. But I give a thumbs down to all of those school principals. It's not a lot, but I know of some who are hoarding that lunch list, trying to restrict it and minimize it as much as possible unnecessarily for the sake of the status of their individual schools. Thumbs down to all of you who do that. But to those who say they're not sending their children to school because they don't have food or whatever, no, that's all the more reason to send the children to school. Don't have school books. All right, well, that one, because again, I'm not 100% sure exactly what's happening, but there's been a new kind of hardship centered around school books. But again, that is not a reason to not send your children to school if they themselves don't have school books. All right? I mean, there were some really, really, really bad decisions being taken throughout since I became a school teacher, however long ago it was. All kinds of, about lending children textbooks or giving children textbooks or having them in the school. You know, there's been a lot of experimentation over the years, but throughout all of it, and some people aren't even interested in whether a political decision regarding education was a good one or a bad one. Many people, and it's a new kind, no, it's not a new kind, it's an old kind. It's an old kind of illiteracy. To not look at what is best for a society and only, like a brain-dead sycophant, support everything that your party proposes and go against everything that the other party proposes and vice versa. That's a mental sickness. So, there have been a whole lot of bad decisions and mistakes made over the last 30 years regarding our education. Okay, fine. But what's priority number one? Get the children in the school. If everyone doesn't have a textbook, for all the years that I was a teacher, I know we always had textbooks in the class for those children who did not have. All right, but I say all of that to say that's not an excuse to keep your children home from school. Didn't have the right color shoes. Again, you know, to the school administrators who take this position, again, I don't know if it's still done, but you have some school principals, they'll send you back home if you don't have the correct color shoes and all that kind of stuff. Again, can't you find a separate place maybe within, if you want to ban them from having an education because they don't have the right color shoes or belt or socks? Or no shoes at all, they have a pair of slippers, whatever it is. No, sending a child back home for something like that, no. No, these are inexcusable things. There's no excuse. Apart from sickness, there's no excuse to keep your children home from school. You know what I've heard a lot of parents say as well? Or quite a few. And this one, I'm wrestling with this one too. Well, I'm not going to send him this week. I'll send him next week. Why? Well, let's just get things sorted out. For who? What more important can you sort out except getting the child off to school? And you see, you're growing up the children with a culture and an attitude which will eventually become a behavior of making education a secondary priority. I mean, the kinds of excuses that you hear over the years. Monday morning, child not in school. What happened? Well, we went out Sunday night. We went to look for the grandmother, and the grandmother living down in Point Forte. So you didn't send the child to school because you went to see your grandmother last night and came home late? Not good enough. Not only is the child missing vital educational opportunities to continue learning, but you're also instilling within them subconsciously the opinion that education is not that important. And I remember a few weeks ago, I can't remember exactly why I brought it up, but a few weeks ago, I remember saying in front of this microphone that when I was a young school teacher, in my early 20s, I actually became a school teacher at age 19 and had a class of 36 children all to myself in Sangre Grande. So I was 20 when I started, but I was 19 years old when I got the interview and got the job at the Ministry of Education in Port of Spain. 19. And from that time to now, the kinds of sentiments towards education, it's disturbing. And how can we complain really effectively if through all of that time we underachieve and then complain about the system when we haven't taken the education as seriously as we should have? No. It's a bad sign. Now, we're about to start back the lessons program at the Kwame Ture Center soon. The students did pretty good. I understand that every child, not just child, but big people, every student that we had at the Kwame Ture Center passed English. Every single one. And English is like the backbone of any other subject that you have to do writing in. So, of course, as always, there are a number of things that we have to look at and tweak and improve, but we're pretty satisfied. And also, next week, Saturday, listen, parents and students. Next week, Saturday, not today, but next week, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, we resume the George Padmore Boys Academy. We did term 1, 10 weeks. We ended with a wonderful session. We had food prepared for everyone. We had a 3-course meal for everyone. It was fantastic. So next week, Saturday, we resume, and the first session is a study skills session entitled How to Be the Best Student You Can Be. Now, it's the Boys Academy, of course. Young males 17 years and under. But for that, session number 1, we're allowing the girls in as well. Anyone who's a student. Of course, those who are the young university students or the adult students who are signing up for CSEC subjects. So next week, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, at the Kwame Ture Center, we're having a special study skills session. How to study, how to store information in your memory, how to apply yourself, how to plan out essays, how to become inspired by information, how to perform much better in all of your exams, all of your subjects, making notes, art of writing. So we're going to deal with a whole range of student issues next week, Saturday morning. It's a very important session. So all students, and of course we're taking registration for term 2 of the Boys Academy. You can visit the Kwame Ture Center any day during the week. and come in literally every day from now over the next 10 weeks. It's Monday to Sunday. We're in there. Monday to Sunday. So, first session is going to be on study skills. The second session is going to be another agriculture session. Again, last week, Sunday, we harvested the food that we planted with the boys, which was such a great feeling. Such a great feeling. And we have another agriculture program that we're doing. We've constructed a number of grow boxes. I think it's maybe about 16 or so. Like 6 feet by 4 feet, 2 feet deep. And we're growing food. The first set that we grew, that was in a trough, not even grow boxes, a trough, which anyone can grow in their backyard, even if you're in a concrete area. And listen, man, you have to come and see it for yourself. Trust me. So, beloved, few other things I want to talk about. I also do want to open up the lines. But, of course, the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. And I've been interviewed on a bit of media, both here and across the Caribbean, on this. And I'm realizing a few things. And I want to make just one point. Because Belize, one of our CARICOM neighbors, located geographically in Central America, Belize have declared a public holiday for the death of Queen Elizabeth. And our beloved family, Jamaica, have declared 12 days of mourning. Now, listen, beloved. When I was interviewed on Jamaica radio during the week, and I decided to answer that question a little bit differently when they asked me. It said Jamaica's declared 12 days of mourning for Queen Elizabeth. What are your thoughts? And yeah, I could go down the road of condemning it. That's so colonial. That's so backward. It shows that we're still, in a way, thinking like subjects hitched on to the royal illusion of this monarch and family, etc. But I decided to take a bit of a different route. I said, look, to some degree, Jamaica has brought this on themselves. Because if you recall, 10 years ago, in March 2012, when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was in Trinidad, and I interviewed him, at that time, he had recently met, and I didn't even realize this until very recently. I'll tell you what I didn't realize. Minister Farrakhan had met with the sitting prime minister at the time, Portia Simpson Miller, who basically assured him we are, not we're planning to or we're hoping to, we are becoming a republic for our 50th anniversary of independence, which was about 4 months away, of which the government of Jamaica officially invited Minister Farrakhan back to Jamaica as a special guest for their 50th anniversary of independence. Now, that is when they were supposed to become a republic. Jamaica just celebrated their 60th anniversary of independence, and they're still talking about it. So understand that on paper, it wasn't just the Queen of England who passed away. It was the Queen of Jamaica who passed away. And Prince Charles, Prince of Wales, who is now King Charles III, he is not just the King of Great Britain. Prince Charles is now the King of Jamaica. He's not the King of Trinidad. And Queen Elizabeth was not the Queen of Trinidad since 1976 when we became a republic. But she was the Queen of Jamaica. She was the Queen of Grenada. She was the Queen of Antigua. She was the Queen of St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts. She was the Queen of Barbados up to November last year, because Barbados, with their progressively thinking government, broke ties. Just as Dr. Eric Williams decided to do in 1976, and the government of Guyana did in 1970. So if Jamaica has, for all these years, withheld and hesitated and stumbled on taking that step that Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Dominica, and Barbados took, then what do you expect? They will declare those days of mourning. So let's deal with that issue first. Let's become a republic, break ourselves off. Now, let me give you some deep information here. First of all, Queen Elizabeth II, and we respect the dead. I am a Muslim, and we show respect to those who have gone by. We don't make mockery or ridicule over those who have passed on. But every life is a lesson. Queen Elizabeth did not become the Queen of England while she was in England. Queen Elizabeth II became the Queen of England while she was in Kenya in 1952. And around that same time, the Mau Mau Revolution began. The Mau Mau of Kenya are known as the Kenya Land and Freedom Army. They were a group that formed in Kenya to stop the theft of Kenyan land by the British under newly installed Queen Elizabeth. Now, let me explain something to you about that term, Mau Mau. Just in case the term sounds a bit familiar to you, but you can't figure out where you would have heard that term before, you would have heard me quote it, for those of you who listen. I've been mentioning the Mau Mau over the last 20, 30 years. Because the Mau Mau were mentioned by the FBI's head director, J. Edgar Hoover, in the document entitled COINTELPRO, where they went to war with black conscious movements. Think, beloved, J. Edgar Hoover, in the FBI files, the COINTELPRO counterintelligence program, said, word for word, quote, "We must prevent the rise of a black messiah, one who can unify and electrify militant black nationalist movements." So they're saying we, the FBI, have to prevent the rise of a black messiah. In the early 1960s, they named 4 people: the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, and Trinidad and Tobago's own Kwame Ture. They named him in the FBI file under the name Stokely Carmichael as the four potentials to be that black messiah. Now, the passage went on, and this is where you would have heard the term before, to say that a black messiah in America can be the beginning of a real Mau Mau in the United States. Those were J. Edgar Hoover's words. So basically, the FBI said in the early 1960s, one, we have to prevent the rise of a black messiah. But two, we have to prevent a real Mau Mau. Now, of course, it was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad who was the black messiah, because out of all of them, it was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad who was purchasing tens of thousands of acres of farmland. It was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad who got black people to grow their own food, pool money together, purchase farmland, then open a supermarket to sell the produce, then open a bakery to bake products and restaurants to prepare the food and catering services. And then he said, don't stop there. We go into the land also to extract silk and cotton, and then open our garment construction, tailoring businesses, clothing stores. But we also have to have our own schools so we can educate our children on the importance of farming and being independent, self-sufficient, and in control of their manufacturing and production. So while Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King and our own Kwame Ture were great spokespersons for the cause, Elijah Muhammad was the man they were looking at, because he was creating a black nation within a nation. So check this out. Let's go back to Kenya here. The Mau Mau. They looked at what happened in South Africa and said, wait a minute, a handful of white people in South Africa passed in the parliament a law that the tiny minority of whites were in control of 87% of the land, while the millions and millions and millions of blacks were confined to 13% of the land. And by the way, 5 years before Elizabeth became Queen of England in 1947, she gave a speech in South Africa. I was shocked, beloved. I was shocked that she gave the speech. No. I was shocked looking at some documentary on Sky News, and they actually showed her giving the speech in South Africa in 1947. These are the architects of apartheid. These are the people who said African people cannot own land, that the wealth and the resources and the gold and the diamonds and the land must be in the hands of white people. Now, what shocked me was when I was looking at Sky News on this documentary, what really caught my eye was there was a black man. You know, they have like the royal, not a butler, but like the butler standing by the door, that when someone comes to visit the Queen, they announce them. And we have the Earl of Spencer visiting from Norwood to visit your majesty. Right. But there was a black man doing that. So that caught my eye. I said, what? So I was looking at that. And then they showed this speech of Queen Elizabeth referring to the white South Africans. She said, we, the royal family, and the white South Africans, we are one. The term she used was grand imperial family. One grand imperial family. So when she became the queen in 1952, and she was in Africa, in Kenya, and they were trying to do the same thing in Kenya, that the white South Africans did in South Africa under apartheid. And then the Mau Mau emerged to fight for their land. That Mau Mau revolution was one of the most feared African militias ever. And you know, they're going to say that the Mau Mau were evil people, were brutal people, were savage people, because they were fighting to keep their land. There's a book entitled Web of Deceit, Britain's Real Foreign Policy, Britain's Real Role in the World, by Mark Curtis. It was published in 2003. From page 324, they deal with that history in particular. It talks about the internment of Kenyans with estimates as high as 500,000 kept in concentration camps, detention camps, or enclosed villages that were bordered around militarily. And there was one particular African tribe called the Kikuyu, out of which the Mau Mau soldiers emerged. Now, check this. Hundreds of thousands of Kenyans were beaten, sexually assaulted, forced to renounce their allegiance to the insurgency. They were brutalized. Prisoners were questioned, with their ears being sliced off, holes being bored in their eardrums, flogging until death, pouring paraffin over suspects who were then set alight on fire, burning eardrums with cigarettes, the use of castration, and denying access to medical aid to detainees by the British. You see, you're talking about close to 500,000 Kenyans. And the people, the Africans who were victims of that, think on this, beloved. They were not the Mau Mau soldiers, but they were Africans who were detained, held, beaten, brutalized by the British under Queen Elizabeth II, who were suspected of knowing where they are, where they're hiding, or being friends or relatives or neighbors or colleagues of them. That's the people that they were beating and raping and brutalizing and cutting off body parts. So if they suspected that you have a cousin or a neighbor or a friend who was in the Mau Mau revolution, they will beat you to death to get information on where they live. According to an article entitled Kenya, United Kingdom expresses regret over abuse as Mau Mau promised payout. This was June the 5th, 2013, because the British did say, okay, we're gonna pay some compensation for this. We're feeling bad about this. The Guardian newspaper of England, June 5th, 2013, published an article because when the British government announced, okay, we're going to pay some compensation, they started doing more and more research. And listen. One of the Kenyan detainees who suffered severe punishment, brutality, beatings and torturing was one man by the name of Hussein Onyango Obama, the grandfather of United States President Barack Obama. Little did they know, when they were literally spitting on all of these Africans, beating them, mutilating body parts, raping the women. Little did they know that one of those tens of thousands of Africans that they treated this way, one of them would one day have a grandson who will become the president of the United States of America. His widow had said when they interviewed her that the British soldiers forced pins into his fingernails and buttocks and squeezed his testicles between metal rods, and two others with him were completely castrated. Historian Robert Edgerton describes the methods used by the British during this period. He said, if a question was not answered to the interrogator's satisfaction, the subject was beaten and kicked. If that did not lead to the desired confession, and it rarely did, more force was applied. Electric shock was widely used, and so was fire. Women were choked and held underwater. Gun barrels, beer bottles, and even knives were thrust into their vaginas. According to Edgerton in Mau Mau, An African Crucible, 1990, from page 144, he says, quote, men also had beer bottles thrust up their rectums, were dragged behind Land Rovers, whipped, burnt, and bayoneted. Some police officers did not bother with more time-consuming forms of torture. They simply shot the African suspect, who refused to answer questions, then told the next suspect to dig his own grave. When the grave was finished, the man was asked if he would now be willing to talk. And listen to this. In June 1957, the British Attorney General posted in Kenya. Listen, and listen well. The British Attorney General in Kenya, his name was Eric Griffith Jones. He wrote a letter to the British governor, posted in Kenya, Sir Evelyn Baring. Now remember, the governor is the representative of the Queen. The Attorney General is the legal representative of the government, in particular the cabinet. And the Attorney General, the British Attorney General, posted in Kenya, on behalf of the government, is writing a letter to the British governor, who is directly under the Queen, detailing the way the regime of abuse at the colony's detention camps was being subtly altered. He said that the mistreatment of the African detainees is, I'm quoting him word for word here in his letter, distressingly reminiscent of conditions in Nazi Germany or communist Russia. Now, let's use our brains, people. I was interviewed on the CNC3 morning program a couple of days back. And listen to what the interviewer is asking me. He says, but Dr. Muhammad, and he used Nelson Mandela as an example. He said, so look, Nelson Mandela, coming out of South Africa, who went through all of the suffering and 27 years in prison and all of the mistreatment and brutality, and he, with his desire to bring about healing, came out of that and still visited the Queen at Buckingham Palace and, as he said, knocked glass. And then he put to me, so if Nelson Mandela could go through all of that and still go to visit the Queen, what about us? And my head sank. Listen, there are people in our Caribbean societies and elsewhere. And there's one black woman who's always on Fox News. Oh gosh, I have to hurry this up. Listen, people are saying things like, well, you know, colonialism wasn't all bad because there was some development that took place. It was good for the infrastructure. Hold on, stop all of that. Right now, as I constantly point out to you, it is a criminal offense in 17 countries to deny the Jewish Holocaust, including Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Belgium, Holland, Greece, Israel, and 9 other countries. It's a criminal offense to deny the Jewish Holocaust. But here, we are African people who have suffered brutality hundreds of times worse than the Jewish Holocaust and what the Jews suffered. And here we are in 2022 trying to make excuses for our former oppressors, enslavers, colonizers, committers of genocide against our people. Here we are in 2022 as the victims of the worst crimes against humanity ever, still making excuses for those who raped our mothers and murdered our fathers. And there are still those of us who will say things, oh, well, you know, you'll never hear the Jews. You will never hear the Jews say something like, well, under Hitler, it's true that they killed 6 million of us, but at least the Germans and the Nazis, they built some bridges and they established some schools. Yes, it's true that they burnt us in gas chambers and mass murdered us by the hundreds of thousands, but they still built a couple hospitals and they constructed some banks and they paved the roads. Man, that's the victim of a mental sickness to think like that. And after us coming out of 400 years of that kind of oppression, to not even have enough respect for your ancestors, to say, you know what, I'm not going to participate in that. I'm not going to declare mourning for someone who was the overseer of the mass murder and the spilling of the blood of our ancestors, for us to get their brainwashed education in the school, for it to convert and transform us mentally, to come back and say, oh, the oppressor was not that bad after all. And I'm saying to us, African people are the only people on planet Earth who voluntarily forgive everyone who commits crimes against us, except our own people, because we're still consumed by the self-hatred of their wicked system. I'll be back.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the Street 919 FM.
The steel pan, the only musical instrument invented in the 20th century, is a reflection of the perseverance and innovativeness of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, which have always been central to our development as a nation. And the steel pan story epitomizes this, carved out of life and struggle and determination, rising out of the spirit of the African drum. The steel pan stands today as evidence of innovativeness, creativity, and passion for life integral to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Kwesi Paul. Join me each and every Sunday from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight on the Street 91.9 FM.
The Diamond Jubilee Calypso Monarch. Our 60th independence celebrations continue with the Diamond Jubilee Calypso Monarch competition. Come out and see TNT's Calypso Heavyweights vie for the grand prize of $200,000. Look out for the semifinals on September 17th at Naparima Bowl, San Fernando, and the finals on September 25th at the Grandstand, Queens Park, Savannah. Who will take the crown of the Diamond Jubilee Calypso Monarch? For more info, contact the Tuco head office at 623-9660 or follow us at Forging Forward TT on Facebook and Instagram. The Diamond Jubilee Calypso Monarch.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Here my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life. Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282. or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
So there's a need for brotherhood.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is demanded.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential, it is urgent, and it is compulsory. But the time demands brotherhood. Whenever the dominant white society fears for its economic future, racial tensions are always aggravated. The aim of Almighty God is to bring the black man and woman together. The aim of Almighty God is that we, no matter how divided we have been in the past, must experience unity in order to gain the success that we seek and the progress that we desire. There is no way that a divided people can build a future. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. need for brotherhood. But if you walk the earth proud and arrogant, you never learn your lesson because you think you already know. And how in the hell could you know and be in the shape that we're in? How can there be any brotherhood if there's not even the honoring of a word?
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
But the Quran and the Bible bear witness that the heavens and the earth were created with truth.
Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential. It is urgent and it is compulsory. I feel that every man that wants to speak should have the right. And if you think you know it better, get on up. Come on. And get on and do the job. But if you don't know what to do, and all your mouth is able to do is condemn and criticize, but you have no works to show the rightness of your philosophical adherence, then maybe you should rethink your position.
All your mouth is able to do is condemn and criticize. Wow. How many of us is that described? Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda. Here on the Street 919 FM, I am David Muhammad. We're going up to 9 o'clock and wow, that time just crept up on us. So I'm opening up the phone lines now, but I just want to finish off listen, there's so much. All of this is in my new book coming up, by the way. Should be out in January 2013. Remember in 2015, I said Black Studies Book 2 would come out most likely in 2017. But the amount of work that goes into these publications, the research, trust me, it's years and years compiled. But you can order my 3 books off the website www.blackagendaproject.com. But even more convenient for you now, you can log on to the website and you can purchase the downloadable PDF files. They're a lot cheaper than the physical book that is mailed out. So you purchase, you pay for it, and it downloads right away onto your laptop or your tablet or your phone or whatever device. And you can download it as many times as you wish once you purchase it. All right, so that's blackagendaproject.com. Black Studies. A lot of this information is in Black Studies. And also Knowledge is Power. And my book, Black Youth at Risk. So, despite all of that abuse, the Attorney General, the British Attorney General, said that in order for abuse to remain legal, look at what they're saying. In order for this abuse of the Africans to remain legal, the Attorney General said in his letter to the governor, Mau suspects must be beaten mainly on their upper body. What is it about those Europeans that they're so obsessed with anal rape and all these sexual crimes? You're trying to get information, but you're using sexual assault. It's an obsession that they have. Anyway. So in order for the abuse to remain legal, the Attorney General says, Africans must be beaten mainly on their upper body. He says vulnerable parts of the body should not be struck, particularly the spleen, liver, or kidneys. And it was important that those who administer violence should remain collected, balanced, and dispassionate. And he also reminded the governor that, and listen to these words, this is the British Attorney General on behalf of the government writing to the British governor on behalf of the Queen. He says, if we are to sin, we must sin quietly. Let me go to the phone lines. And we celebrating that. You understand? Three 420-0081 and 466-5391. Caller, good morning. Are you there?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Hakim Mohammed.
Yes, sir.
My brother. I heard you the other morning on the CNC. And it was a sad thing, brother, to hear this guy. You know, Fazil Mohammed would have allowed you to continue because you have been educating him, you understand, in what he doesn't understand and what he doesn't know. He'll learn from you. Instead, his brother trying to put you in the direction that he wants to go in, to show sympathy, you understand, for the Queen. Brother David, you know, I once I told our sister, our good sister, when I see the state our people are in, and when I see where we are going, sometimes I'm sorry I'm wrong to observe it, you know, because it's sad to see how we treat our own people, how we don't understand, even in Africa, the leaders that they have there, but I guess they were educated by the British. Because in Kenya today, they're having some, in the church, they're having some memorial service for her. In Kenya. So it means that the system, the education system in Kenya hasn't taught anything to those who would have suffered, the generation would have suffered. They haven't taught them anything. And in Africa, you have it happening. You understand? They're not teaching what our ancestors went through, what they have done to us. How come in Africa you have African countries, you have people speaking German, French, Italian, Dutch? How come? Just ask yourself that question. You understand? We have their language gone, the dialect gone, and you were beaten and forced, you understand, to speak these languages by these criminals. You understand? And you telling me that I must have sympathy and I must mourn for the British, for the Queen? 1952, just 52, you know. Yes, I must mourn for Europe. Boy, the whole of Europe should be going through what she's going through now because of what they have done to us. And we have no understanding because you know what? What they did to us, they have us doing to ourselves today. They have us doing to ourselves today. When you listen to the way we come down on each other in this society here, you understand? Because of some political support for some other party, it's a sickening and sad. It's really sad, Brother David. It shows you that what they did, they beat into us, that we will continue doing that. You know, let me just say something. I remember there's a doctor, Dr. Saw is his name, who with the medical board, you understand? You know, they had 3 postponements of that hearing, of that matter. Up to now, nothing come out of it. And nothing will come out of it, you understand? And our people will kill our own people, condemn us, and they won't go at all for the board, the medical board, to do something about that. Brother David, we in a mess. Our people are in a mess. Brother David, brothers like yourself and all those who have gone, and those who have between, and are continuing for our people, I don't know. It hurt me. It really, really hurt me. I heard the guy in the morning and said, look at him. And he's on the media.
I don't want to disparage him too much, but as I pointed out, it shows what post-colonial education did to us. Because again, you're not going to see any other society celebrate those. It's like the Jews celebrating Hitler. It just will not happen because the education that they receive and the education that they give to their children is controlled by them.
Exactly.
But the education that we received was controlled by the same people who committed the atrocities against our ancestors. So from that point of view, it's not surprising that we support them. The next step now is to properly liberate ourselves. And you know, on the backdrop of all of that, because in all the interviews that I did last week, I had to say, okay, yeah, I know we're talking about the Queen, but I need to say that we just had the first year anniversary of Africa CARICOM Day, where all of our heads of government in the Caribbean and heads of government in Africa agreed that every year they will hold this summit on September the 7th. Well, to be honest, I didn't expect to hear a whole lot about it, especially out of Trinidad. But Barbados did have some acknowledgement of it. The government of Ghana as well, I understand, did have some acknowledgement of it. And there are those in between. But the bottom line is, if government fails to follow up on these kinds of missions, then the grassroots people have to do it, which is what we're doing. And there's something I'm going to be talking about soon, about a particular project between Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana, which is a black business project, not just a small level one, but something really grand, right? But this is what we on the ground level have to take up as initiatives.
Yep. But then, before I go, you know, there's a guy that went up under the People's National Movement, Avanash Singh. He went up and he lost his seat down in Central there. They make him a senator. He's a minister now. This same guy went up. He didn't lose that. I don't think he lose by much, you know. And you see what happened to him? He ain't getting nothing. You understand? This is the kind of thinking, this is the kind of black thinking, you understand, that we have to understand what is going on in this place, you understand? It's not easy, but it's not, it's sad. And it's hard work, real hard work.
Very hard work.
Bring that consciousness to work. Have a good day, my brother.
Thank you, sir. Three 420-0081 and 466-5391. Good morning.
Very good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
Yes. Oh boy, enlightenment again. You do it so well. Thank you so much. What can I add to what my brother just said there? What can I add? This situation is so sad. The more you see of this whole passing of this person and the footage and the life that they live, the more you see how disgustingly sick it is. Of people who come from nothing more than war and hate and killing and conquering. You see how disgustingly all they do is deal with opulence and wealth. What is that? Isn't there some saying or some quote that says, by the sweat of thy brow thou shalt eat bread? And that's all they do. Just go through life with leisure and rob and steal and kill. And yet you must just keep them on a pedestal. What we will take for our eyes to open. The latest thing I see, on her coffin, our clouds parted and a ray of light came down, and gimmickry, because they master the art of sorcery and evil and gimmickry. This thing is so, sometimes it makes you say, well, call out to your creator, do something, and for hundreds of years, they are doing whatever they want. And this thing of sodomy is so coming to light now. where they abuse African men by having sex with them. It is so much coming to light now where they did it all over. They believe in human sacrifice. Churchill was one of them who was in this cult that practiced human sacrifice. Everything about them is evil and unhealthy. What is not done right, evil is unhealthy. You all live in everything with all you is just secret and clandestine and talking about ancient rituals. Ancient rituals might, but all your sick nastiness. I just am so with this thing, it is so painful. It is so painful to me. But here we are. We have to hold up and continue the struggle and enlighten those who want to stay asleep. The worst thing sometimes when you want to wake up an African who is asleep, they come at you, you know, because they want to stay asleep. Anyway, thank you, Brother Muhammad. Keep waking us up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Now remember, and I was saying it just last week, every single country in Africa was colonized by one of seven different European countries, with the exception of Liberia in the west and Ethiopia in the east. And even both of them on occasion were occupied and invaded. Italy occupied Ethiopia from 1936 to 1941, 5 years, but never fully colonized them. And in every one of those African countries, in every one, no exceptions, there are stories of genocide and horror in every single case. Caller, good morning.
Yes, morning, Dr. Mohammed.
Good morning, sir.
I would like to say something here that I think we should touch on. Now, all this education that you have given to us African people is so profound and important. I want to believe, or I think, all this crime plan they're putting out about the gangster thing, I am not condoning it there, and these Africans killing one another. If they are educated in this manner on the history, I believe it will have an instant dent on this amount of gang killing. Now, the next thing too is every time this education is put out, a disclaimer will have to be always made against it. In other words, we must not know these things. While they have a network in this country that attack every single week, they attack that person, attack one African person. It is a must for him. Right? Think about what I just said.
Thank you, sir. I know how you feel, but it's not personal. It's in the system. It's automated. It just comes up, you know. But what you said about the gang conflict, there was a 3-part series that Minister Farrakhan did in 2007 entitled Justifiable Homicide, Black Youth in Peril. And it was really from that I took the theme for my PhD research on, Black Youth at Risk. And but in it, Minister Farrakhan started off by saying one of, not the main, but one of the reasons that our black youth can be cultured into so easily taking each other's lives is because we don't know the history of the African Holocaust. If we were aware of how arbitrarily African lives were taken by Europeans, and then the same Europeans wrote an educational system for us to learn from. And within that educational system, it inculcated within us a perception that they are so good and we are so bad. So now when we practice our religion teaches us subconsciously and psychologically and subliminally that they are so good and we are so bad. So in our social cultures, in entertainment, in film, growing up in our generation, we were made to believe that they are so good and we are so bad. And now here we are in poverty, using their political system to govern ourselves, where we treat each other just as bad as the oppressor treated us. And so we've recycled all of their hate for us, repackaged it, and now it has been transformed into hate for each other. So if our youth were made to understand what we went through, in the same way that Jewish education, Jewish religion, and Jewish culture from beginning to end reinforces within them that something happened to us called the Holocaust between 1939 and 1945, and that must never happen again. That's in their cultures, they're in their religion, it's in their education, and you will never see a gang of Jewish children looking to wipe out, kill another gang of Jewish children. Compare what they're taught and educated with in comparison to what we are taught and educated with. Caller, good morning.
Blessed morning.
Blessings.
And now, the Queen of England died, and she passed away, and she deal with reparations, compensation for her ancestors' deliberate and outrageous colonialism of Africa and other European was, as I shared a few weeks ago. Let's apologize, but give Namibia $1 billion, Brother David, for what they did in Africa. Europeans cannot finish pay Africa for what they're doing. Never. And even what they are doing right now, as I say, they're enjoying the wealth of Africa, they're enjoying everything in Africa. Because just as we are seeing this, right now in Africa, just visualize this. Black African youth and black African youth running down one another with guns and just killing them out. And as a share, they're killing the women and children and the elderly, if others are showing here. So the whole mass destruction within Africa that we are seeing here right now, that is being perpetuated by even our own leaders. Because, Brother David, listen to this one. None of them ain't no money banking in Africa. All of them have money in Europe, America, Dubai, Qatar. If you was watching me now. So when they finish according to you, do what the colonial master tell them to do. They just run in these nations and spending the money because I think it's 2019, a son of a president of one of the African nations come down here and a $200 million a year. Everybody's saying, why if you was watching here and enjoying itself in Trinidad and Tobago Carnival? If you was watching here now, they not study the people that they govern to this present time as a share. They're waiting and going to feed the hungry in Africa. Zimbabwe was the food basket of Africa until 1981 when Mugabe said about liberation. Well, liberation like is only by name in these nations. If you was watching, when we say we are doing independent by name because we're still dependent on all these European nations up to this present day. Even we coming to the Chinese and the Europeans now doing their own thing in Africa. And all we saying, come and invest, come and develop. We have no idea of doing that for ourselves. This is what I'm seeing. So African Union leaders and the Caribbean had a little conference there. It's a one-day conference, Brother David, as sure. China going and have the conference. It's 7 days. a few of us, 3,000 delegates. The mindset that these African nations, African leaders, misleaders, I call them misleaders, have about Africa is I govern in my pocket and move. I don't care whatever happens to the people. Even though bloodshed on the street, police coming out, live fire, tear gas, water can and whatever. Don't protest against what I'm doing, man. Only have to take it just so. And people still street hustling, trying to make ends meet. If you were saying your brother David, this is what I am seeing that we call in African governance or African togetherness in Africa. It's time for reality check, brother David. It's reality check we have to deal with right now. We have to make sure that we're doing things for Africa. Right now, the global economic forum is that the dependency that we have up to this present day will continue. World Food Program, Food and Agriculture, with all these international bodies, we have all the different organizations, the non-governmental organizations in Africa, all over the place in Africa, and saying that they are doing the feeding of Africa. I aboard that, Brother David. It's time for we to do things for ourselves. Africa unite. Thank you very much, Brother David. You know, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my brother. And you know, on your point about governments and really looking at the masses of the people on the ground, grassroots level, Belize announced that they were having a public holiday for the funeral of the Queen. And the people agitated against that. And it forced the government to make a statement, which I thought was very interesting, a statement to the public to explain why they did that. And the government of Belize, basically their statement said, you know, it's not that we admire the Queen so much. That's not why we're having this public holiday. But they listed, it was real smart, in my opinion, real tricky. I guess instead of saying tricky, you could just say political. They said words to the effect of, it's not so much us, but our main trading partners. And they mentioned Canada and a couple other countries that are having public holidays. So they said, you know, some of our main trading partners are having public holidays, so we wouldn't really be able to do business with them. So we decided to have a public holiday too. Something like that. I think the Attorney General or one of them said. And I thought, wow, you know, an attempt at an escape route for what's going on there. But even, and this is another thing I pointed out on CNC3 last week, even in England itself, you have persons who are protesting. And one thing that seems to be unanimous is both supporters and non-supporters, they seem to all agree that it was a mistake to stop sports and stop close, whether it's schools or close down businesses. Say, no. Why should other people lose? Oh, and speaking of that, I have to talk about Trinidad football. Because again, it was on the news yesterday that the current administration of football has no idea when professional football is starting back. This has nothing to do with COVID, because professional football in this country had stopped before we even knew what COVID was. It is one of the worst things that could happen to our youth. And again, it goes back to this mentality that so many of our politicians have. I don't care what you say. But you put just because it's some Hadid, you put Hadid in charge of football. And it's completely crashed, completely sunk. And you see this mentality, once you put someone whose name is Hadid or Haddad or Aboud or Sabga in charge of things, that you have so much faith that the country is going to run so much better. with that football industry, the professional football league, it's been going on 4 years that there's been no professional football in this country. You have the private people the other day who ran the Ascension League. At first, I was upset with them. Because they had league games on the same day that the national team played. But now I'm starting to think, well, maybe we need them to run national football, because that's a private group that ran the Ascension League. But the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, which I've been a part of for almost 10 years, we have this mentality in this country that you put certain people in charge and everything is going to be fine. You're wrong. You need to stop thinking like that. Caller, good morning.
Morning, Brother David.
Good morning.
Brother David, what is taking place in Tobago? Does it affect you? What's taking place right now?
You mean the disagreement between the
two, well,
yeah,
Mr. Fali and Mr. Watson?
Well, I wouldn't say it's affecting me. I'm very disappointed, very, very disappointed. But that's that system of politics. It brings the worst out of you. It brings out egos, ignorance, arrogance, putting the people as a secondary priority ahead of your own. I mean, that's what else could we expect from that kind of system? But I'm very, very disappointed, I have to say.
Yeah, because you know what I want to find out, what will take place now, because the Minister of Finance had a talk with Mr. Fali. So I want to find out what will take place now with the money and thing that's supposed to go to Tobago. I want to find out what will take place there.
But I don't think that will be affected, would it be?
I don't know. I'm wondering whether there is a friend, Jama, talking to him.
Yes, I know. How are you doing?
Yeah, hanging in. Yes.
Yeah, we're going through a tough period.
Very, very, very.
Yeah.
Tough and sad.
Yeah. And I'm looking at Sangre Grande.
That's the next thing.
Because 7 people were shot at once in Sangre Grande just a few days ago, including 2 children.
Exactly.
I mean, at one time there was still a kind of code in the country, you know, women and children are off limits.
Exactly.
But
now it's anybody.
Yes, it's like open season on self-destruction.
But David, I still wondering, and I asked that gentleman, he never answered, when that man had that coffin dragging over the whole of this country, all over the place. I am still asking what was the reason for that, and what he really had in that coffin.
Wow.
Because I know we had crime in the country, but Brother David, this is the worst I've ever seen of my 70 years born and grow in Laventille. Right? This is the worst, Brother David. It is the worst. I really wondering what that man had in that coffin. Really wondering. I'm really wondering. I've been very suspicious about what taking place with that. Honest to God. Honest.
Wow.
But God knows that. Man could hide from man, but man can't hide from God. God is the boss. Okay? Have a blessed morning.
Thank you, DJ Gemma. Thank you.
Bless you. Okay?
Yeah, Sangre Grande. 2 children, 7 people. And hardly any of these shootings taking place in Laventille, which again, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you hear about gang violence or shooting. It was East Port of Spain, Laventille. But now it's everywhere. Almost everywhere. Good morning.
Morning again.
Yes, sir.
I listened to the interview Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday.
Was it Tuesday? Okay.
Yeah. And what you was pointing out is that when the Queen was in Kenya,
Yeah.
she got the message about the death of her father and so such and such. But you make the point about the Momo.
The Mau Mau, yeah.
No. And I think the guy who William Ruto, he come from in the Momo area where no real poverty and real hell was watching.
Mm-hmm.
Think that if he put his head together and really unite Kenyans, we'll see a better Kenya. That's not well.
Are you speaking about the new president there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just
Yeah,
took over from Uhuru.
If the concentration is to what the people, because he was a chicken seller, if he was watching him. But the point I'm trying to make is that in the time that the Queen was appointed, they will fight with the British and the Mormons at the time he was watching.
Yeah. We just spoke about that. I feel like you missed the little 20 minutes of the program, right?
So what I'm saying is that, what I'm saying is, I hear all of that, but what I'm saying is that it comes straight down to the other Europeans who are in Africa.
Yeah.
Because 1975 we had
Angola.
Angola.
The Angolan Civil War, which again it was Europeans.
And listen to this one now, Brother David. In 1990, I think it was, the so-called apartheid system.
Mm-hmm.
That was the last backbone of what we know as colonialism, and that in free-minded Africans take the reins of power. But as I say, Brother David, the whole Africa is the youth and them running down one another with guns and killing them just with that and Tobago too. And who giving them the guns?
Yeah.
Because they are our own enemies, and we must stop it. It must be stopped some way, somehow. Black against black, we must bounce right back. Unity, strength. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, beloved brother. And it's a pattern. It is a pattern. So, biased and racist laws in our countries, anywhere where there was European colonization, you have these laws to promote impoverishment of African people and the supporting of the appropriation and theft of land. And then after the Europeans come in, colonize geographical spaces where African people live, they establish educational systems to justify wealth, resources, and property being seized and then placed in overseas British museums. Then the next step is that these countries become chronically impoverished. And then there's a brain drain of citizens leaving to seek a better life in the countries where our wealth was stolen. And then when we reach to the borders, they want to turn us back. But you have stolen goods in your country that belongs to me and my people. But of course, they don't see it that way. Good morning.
Brother David, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Brother David, last night I heard on the news a fisherman was killed, wrapped up in his own fishing net. His boat engine, well, that gone. A spokesman for the fishermen said they called the Wolverine unit. That unit, Dr. Rowley boasts about, that's supposed to protect our borders, the police. No boats. They call the Coast Guard. No boats. Brother David, when Venezuelans were flocking into Trinidad, you think it's only Venezuelans alone was coming into Trinidad? Brother David? Brother David, They left us naked. They left us defenseless. Two governments. We'll talk about that again. I will leave it there for now.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. But my position has been that we cannot expect anything better from a system that we inherited from our oppressors. Caller, good morning.
Yeah, Brother David.
Yes, sir.
Brother David, see that education system that rests on us?
It's poisonous.
Yes. Brother David, hear what they do it. They rape us. They baptize the children and them. Educate them. You understand? And then they employ them, and when they're dead, they bury you. And then they write a book on you now. To tell you, that book is telling you, you understand? Suffer here. You understand? And when you're dead, you understand? You go to somewhere else to enjoy life eternal. And we believe in that. And you know what hurt me most? Is that they have us doing to us what they have done. They have put things in place for 1,000 years to come, you know. They knew what they were doing, you know. They knew along the way, some way, the evil that they have done will be exposed. So they put it in such a way that we will do it to our own self. And that's the worst part about it. That you cannot see in this. I was a little fella about 15, 14, 15. I had already started, you understand, to question, you understand, Europeans and slavery at that early age, you understand? And to see now, that you reach that point, you probably took to more enlightened, you understand? And like we are going nowhere, but they know what they have done. That book, that is one of the most dangerous book, you understand, that they have written and put in our hand. And don't care what we do, it is good to hear them. They use it, also using it to enrich yourself. With the wicked self, they're following exactly what the Europeans have done to us. They're following it and they know it. They know it's evil, it's wicked, and they use it to enrich themselves. And then they put innocent people who don't understand. They let youth them who don't understand what is good. Brother David, we're in a mess, eh? We're in a mess, but it's hard. I mean, you can't give up.
Never.
You can't get up in the air and give up. You have to keep fighting and hoping that someone in the generation coming up somewhere along the line going to pick up this struggle. Let us start in Africa too, you know. Because in Africa down there, we have some leaders down there, don't even know if they're walking or they're standing. They know nothing, they're done. Here's some of them, how they're glorifying the evil that this woman have done. You know, I was watching a little thing the other day on the thing there with a plus asking the culture minister from Blood. And there's actually sitting
from where?
The things that the Queen have. The stolen things that she got, how she got it, and he was just trying to justify the museum with all these things that they have here, you understand? And how they can lend it back and exchange and all these things that they thief from people, Brother David. You could do that to Europe. Brother, it's too safe, eh?
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Again, here I am.
Yes.
We talk about the crime there, our situation right here in Trinidad. Clearly something is going on. Clearly that is not crime as we know it as normal. It's bad as it is normally. But what it is happening here is something beyond. Something is happening. But I can't understand a fisherman going out to fish by himself in the first place. There's so much that's happening that's hidden. You know, you going out to fish by yourself, I think that's a cardinal rule, that fishermen don't go by themselves, you know. But something is really going on, something is happening. But coming back to these culprits, I would never forget my big sister saying what she learned in school about Africa, in I think was the West Indian Reader or someone in these books.
Oh gosh, those books.
It must be there still. That when you give the Africans something, he would put down a pan of fig there, and you wouldn't see when he would come, and he would take it, and then he would leave something. You know, he's a sneaky little animal. That you understand. I mean, this is a woman who has never fed her children, never give her children a bath. I mean, and you're looking at the simpler things of motherhood, never raised her children, somebody there to do everything for them. What is that? Everything is well thought out and presented to the public. There's nothing natural and normal, nothing normal about these people. And yet we're talking about making a holiday for them and all of that. You never even raised your own children. But let's see what will take care of this, because they intend to continue the same thing. And if we think because she passed on, anything is going to be made differently, nothing is different. The same thing would be going on. Thank you.
That's right. And since last week, I guess I'll have to speak about this next week, the Great Reset, or the Great Reset Initiative, which is a global economic plan, as they say, for recovery after COVID. But it was actually launched by Prince Charles before he was king. And it's a world economic plan. It's something like the New World Order, but it's not even, they're not even denying it. Caller, good morning.
Going right, brother. How are you doing?
Blessings. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I just want to say my part. Talking about the school, is that so much that I can say about how to take my time. So much of stuff. Let me say this way. Let me start from this way. Trinidad and Tobago, right? When you use the word Trinidad and Tobago, before I say that, let me say this. Words, the sense of communication is what is language, okay? And the sense of language is words. Words are what has everything in it. It has the power, it has the vibration, it has the energy, everything is words. When you use the right word, you get the right result. When you use the wrong word, you get the wrong result. And that is the game that is being played. It's playing the word game. When you say Trinidad and Tobago is not the people. And Trinidad and Tobago is not a place. Trinidad and Tobago is a corporation or a company or a business, just as KFC, McDonald's, a gas station, everything, doing business on the land of the indigenous people. That's it. There's no debate on that. That's it. The indigenous people are the ones who have the power or the authority on the land with their chiefs, and not what they call the corporation called the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We have given the indigenous people the tribe on this land, which is Ka'iri. The name of this land is Ka'iri. Okay? So we have given the corporation called the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago our documents. What we do, we take out ourselves as indigenous people out of the corporation. We don't register our children with the corporation, and if our children are in there, we take them out. So the thing about it is this, David, just leave us alone. That's it. First up. The indigenous people, okay, and they say that they came here and they made the Caribbean Iraq, and they say that. And in the books now in the schools, now people listen to this, the translators of your Bible, 3 words the translators translated as hell in your Bible. One of the words is Gehenna. Check it out. The other one is Hades. And the other word that is translated as hell in your Bible is school. Check it out. Hence the reason why our indigenous people like us don't send our children to that at all, because when they send them to that, they will teach you. The teacher that came from Africa on a boat and they brought you here. So you keep on looking like if you are displaced, lying to you from the school, and they will never tell you, and they did not want you to know that you were always here, you have been here, you are indigenous to here, you are organic to here, and this land is yours. and they are doing business on your land and treating you the way that they are treating you. Listen to this. The word poly means many, and tick is a blood-sucking parasite. That is politics. What do they do? Look at that. They tell you who they are. So the problem is not them. I never blame government, you know. I blame ignorance of the people because that is who they are feeding on. The word government means to control. And the word ment is mental. That's mind control. So if you allow this blood-sucking parasite to control your mind, who are you going to blame?
Wow, that's deep, sir.
This is another one. What is insanity? And insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result according to their definition. Okay, you vote the PNM, you didn't get any result. You vote the UNC, you didn't get any result. You vote the PNM, what is that? Is that insanity? There is another form of insanity. The politicians, those blood-sucking parasites, are the ones who design the whole thing to have it the way it is. I will talk about the Queen a little after.
Yeah.
Two that passed away a long time and now two announced it. Anyhow, what I was going to say?
But thank you. Thank you for your call. You've shared some great wisdom there, and I deeply appreciate it. So let me just begin to wind down by saying, well, I'm lecturing tomorrow at the Kwame Ture Center, but I want you to help us get the young people out. Next week, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, we're resuming the George Padmore Boys Academy. This is an initiative that we've been doing out of the Kwame Ture Center. We had the first term, 10 sessions. We dealt with agriculture. We dealt with self-awareness, self-confidence, self-defense. We dealt with teamwork, the law. Our young black males should understand the law and how to properly interact with the police. We did, of course, black history, consciousness, respect for women. We did the dangers of drugs and alcohol, why we must grow our own food. We had 10 sessions, and then we were on a break for a month, so we're about to start term 2, and we're starting off with a special study skills session. So for all of our young men, and like I said, we're welcoming the girls as well for this first session. It's next week, Saturday, 10 o'clock. It will be conducted by myself, and it's a lot of very powerful and valuable information for our young people. Anyone who's a student, some very, very, very important study skills, and how to approach exams, writing, a number of different things. All of our sessions, we deal with a range of topics, but we really need to get our young people out. And of course, you can come to the Kwame Ture Center during the week to enroll for the Boys Academy. So stay tuned to the Street 919 FM. May Almighty God Allah continue to bless you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
Reggae Rock Sundays featuring MC Duke and Selector Kutchi present Reggae and Rockers. On board the Embassy Yacht on September 24th, Republic Night. Boarding 10 p.m. and sailing at 11 p.m. at the Hyatt Waterfront in Port of Spain. Get your reggae groove on. With top DJs, Selector Kutchi, Bruce Wayne, TC, and Heavy Duty. Early bird tickets cost $150. After that, you pay more, $175. For tickets, call Selector Kutchi at 777-7909 and MC Duke at 349-4121. Reggae and Rockers Republic Night. No oversized schoolers allowed. Don't miss it.